very talented student of mine come into his lesson not too long ago, and he had just come out of a clinic. It was a clinic with a veteran bass player, guy really knows his stuff, and the way my student normally plays didn't really mix with how that bass player played. And that bass player told him a lot of specific things and basically made him question how swing works altogether, because it was not how he normally played. It just immediately brought back all of these memories of when I was in high school or was in college and even older, and people would constantly, I don't know why, man, everyone loves to tell the drummer how to play the drums, right? How often are we the ones like, hey, saxophone player, yeah, that sounds terrible. Or how about you don't play those notes because those don't work so well, right? It's almost always everybody turning around and telling the drummer. Now, usually that's because we have the most responsibility. I always feel like it's on our shoulders to provide all the feel and intensity and all that stuff. It really can come from us. We're like the orchestrators of the band. That's why everyone loves drummers like, Elvin and Tane and Brian Blake, because they bring so much to the bandstand. So yes, a lot rides on our shoulders, and I understand that's why people, other instrumentalists will turn around and put so much on the drummer's shoulders. But people love to tell the drummer to play the hi-hat like this, or don't do this, or don't do that. The reality is, most of the time somebody tells a drummer that, they're half right, and that's what we should take from it, is that there's a reason they said it. If it felt amazing and it was killing, they wouldn't have told you to change anything that you were playing. I think anytime somebody's made some comment like that, when I've gone back through, even if I didn't want to hear it at the time, usually there was an element of truth to what they said. However, often, either by the way they tell us or how we interpret it, it can seem like it's law, or like, okay, now I have to change the way I play because of that, when in fact, that's just not how groove works. Groove in any style, right? There's no one way to make anything feel good. I mean, listen to Elvin Jones, and then listen to Connie Kay, and listen to Sam Woodyard, right? Listen to all those guys. They all sound totally different, but they all still kill at their own way of playing. That's like a great example of how, ultimately what makes something groove. Yes, there are plenty of things that make things swing, but they aren't necessarily law, and they're not necessarily in a particular order. It just doesn't work that way. So in this particular case with my student, he played a certain way, and this guy came from basically a different genre of jazz, and he was used to his drummers playing a certain way. So I didn't want my student to lose everything that they had been working on, but yet add in what that one person had said to them, so that it made their playing grow, not necessarily eliminate a part to say that this doesn't work, you got to do it this way. This can work. It might not work in this situation, but if you also learn this, then you've widened your depth of groove, basically. And man, this applies to everything. It'll somebody will say, "Oh man, look, you got to play hi-hat on 2/4, otherwise it doesn't swing." Really? Because I have records with Papa Joe Jones, and he's not even playing hi-hat in 2/4, much less Roy Haynes and you name it, right? I mean, man, you got to have the right. Someone's got to be on all four quarter notes. I mean, for me, that's how I like it, but I've got plenty of records where the drummer isn't banging away on all quarter notes in the right cymbal. It doesn't fit necessarily every single style. There's a ton of examples like that. The thing, again, I think to take from when you get a piece of advice from someone who says, man, you should do it like this. This is how it's supposed to swing, or this is how it really swings. That means, A, you're probably not doing something to make that particular situation feel as good as it can feel. B, what they said, no matter how they said it, really only applies to that particular setting. I've been on a jam session, and a bass player was playing with me, and we were swinging out. It sounded great. Like we locked up really well. And then like a famous bass player walked in, and the guy gave him the bass in the middle of the song. And everything I had been doing up to that point, which was in the pocket and felt good, and everybody was smiling and tapping their toes, the minute that guy joined in or changed, everything I played just went out the window. None of it worked anymore. So I had to adapt and change a few things, and eventually I found something, and cool, it felt good again. But to me, that's a great example of how man, what worked with that one bass player doesn't necessarily work with the next, which is why we have to study so much and listen and check out so many different drummers and listen to so many different styles of music. So when somebody says, man, don't do that, that doesn't necessarily mean you can't ever do that, or it doesn't necessarily mean that that really doesn't swing. Again, I've got piles and piles of examples, either personally or from my students. Somebody will say, man, yeah, real jazz drummers don't do that, whatever that might be. And every time I can say, oh, really? Because you should check out this record. That's a pretty killing record, and that's what they're doing. So take any criticism about how you're swinging, or anybody who's just rattling off about how you're supposed to swing, including me. Take all of that advice and understand that while it may be true and likely is true, it is not to replace anything else. It's just that one piece of advice should not make you not do something else. It could just be that that's just not the right thing for that situation. So don't get yo-yoed around from all these different bass players and all these different horn players or clinicians that only hear you for, 3.5 minutes on some tune. Take their advice to heed, but don't let it shake your faith in how to play as long as you're checking out recordings. That was when I finally shook that. I saw a big change in my playing. So hang in there when you're getting yelled at by that bass player. They may be saying something truthful, but it doesn't necessarily mean that what they just told you is law. Okay, see you on the next one. Good luck.